Our initial data are in on Americans' reactions to Mitt Romney's selection of Congressman Paul Ryan as his vice presidential nominee. What's interesting here is that we've asked similar questions just after the announcement of previous Veep picks, so we can do some comparisons. One question we ask is, rate the choice. You see the data there in front of you. 39% of Americans say Romney's choice of Paul Ryan was excellent or good, but you've got 42% who say that it wasn't all that good, giving a neutral or more negative response. Now, in comparison, that's one of the lower ratings on that scale that we have obtained. Let's go back to 2008, 4 years ago. Sarah Palin, certainly a controversial pick, but when we initially asked the American public about John McCain's selection of Palin, the numbers were 46-37. In other words, it tilted more positive than negative, unlike the case for Paul Ryan now. What about Joe Biden, who was selected by Barack Obama as his Veep? Well, the numbers there were 47-33, more positive than negative. John Edwards, back in 2004, he was selected by John Kerry as his vice presidential nominee. Look at that, 64% gave a positive response to that and 28% a negative. Now, I'll pause here for a moment because this tells us just how unimportant these initial reactions can be. I just showed you John Edwards came through very well initially, but as you know, the Kerry-Edwards ticket went down in flames. They lost to George Bush, who was seeking re-election. So this initial reaction certainly doesn't predict how well it's going to play out. Another question we ask is simply a favorable rating. Here's the numbers for Paul Ryan. 58% of Americans say, Paul who? They're not able to give an opinion about him either way. 25% have a positive opinion, 17% a negative opinion, an unfavorable opinion. So he certainly tilts more positive than negative. But again, that 17% negative is as high as we've seen for any other candidate we've measured. Sarah Palin, who ended up being fairly negatively evaluated, initial reactions to her were 22 positive, 7 unfavorable. And then 71% initially said Sarah Palin, who didn't know who she was. Of course, she was the then obscure governor of Alaska. What about Joe Biden? Well, his image was 34% favorable, 15% unfavorable. When he was selected by Barack Obama back in 2008, about half of Americans didn't have an opinion about Biden. One final point, 66% of Americans say that the selection of Paul Ryan doesn't make a difference to them either way. In other words, it doesn't affect their vote. And we found that for previous vice presidential selections, when we asked the public, they say the selection really doesn't affect them either way. But we'll see what happens. Paul Ryan's going to become better known. He'll be featured at the convention, which starts on the 27th of August, so we'll keep monitoring it and let you know if, in fact, Paul Ryan's going to make a difference in either direction. I'm Dr. Frank Newport, Gallup Editor-in-Chief.